we are going to do a mixed bag of wonderful. I have two of the very best researchers and thinkers and analysts. And I can tell you right now, they are right here on my heart since I met them. And I thought I'd bring them in so you could all see them. It is Suedoenym and KiwiPatriot. Welcome in, everybody. Say hi.
Hey guys, thank
Hi.
you for having us, Cisco. It's always a pleasure.
It's wonderful, man. If you guys remember on my channel, I had Kiwi Patriot in, and we were talking about a lot of things that were going on in the background of our everyday lives. We've kind of got to the point where we're working and, trying to pay our bills and feed our kids and do our thing. And all this stuff is going around in the background. And I'll tell you what, Sue and Kiwi are some diggers, and that's what we call them. And they research, and when I have a question, they're who I go to. So I brought them to you. Say hi to everybody and tell us a little bit about what you do and what you're going to talk about tonight.
Well, I came from America, but I'm in New Zealand now. But we've been doing the Q digs, and we've been doing the research needed to see what's really going on in the world and in our governments and everything else for years now. I spent years before Q doing a lot of paranormal research, demonology, the occult, and all that stuff. So, Cisco, your story is just one of the your actual show is one of the best ones ever. This is why I'm just honored to be here.
Oh, wow. I'm honored to have you, baby.
I fell into the Q movement, and for those who do or do not know about it, it was basically an exercise in teaching people how to think critically and how and where to look for the truth and how to discern the truth. After spending 2 or 3 years understanding and learning and digging, I sort of went on. Once I got comfortable with it, I went on a little bit of a mission to expose truth in real time, and we started a show on D Live where we do the week's news with. So what we were finding is we'd watch we'd watch news stories, and they would only show a small amount of the article and leave out really key points. And so now we do a show once a week where we go over the major stories for the week, and we include all the information that gives you the ability to make informed decisions on what you've just seen and how you feel about it.
Yes,
Wonderful.
indeed.
Can you tell people where to find that show?
Okay, so we have a multitude of different platforms, but our main live stream is on D Live. So it's a D Live / at Week's End News, which is the name of our show. We also have an at Week's End News on Odyssey and Rumble.
Okay.
And then you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Getter.
Twatter. All of those links for the listeners and anybody that catches this in the future, which you are talking from right now, which is a little creepy, but that's okay. And how's the future looking over there? Is it good? But guys, listen, we're gonna have a couple of freezes, and we're gonna hold. If we have to close and come back, we will to get them back. But usually it's been coming back. We're going halfway around the world here, so bear with us because this is great information. You're not going to want to miss it. There they are. They're back. So all of those links will be in the description. And you can get with these lovely people, and so much learning, and they're great at answering questions. And I've never had anybody come back so fast with answers. Like, it's just amazing. And they're very careful about their information. They're not going to tell you something that they don't truly believe to be true. And then they check each other, and then the other people check them, and then it comes back. So tonight, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about KiwiPatriot has a wonderful YouTube channel. Also, the link will be in. And some of the best videos I've ever seen. They're short, they're sweet, and they're to the point, and they are profound. One of them that you did recently I thought was absolutely brilliant, and it was on cyber attacks. and I've had a lot of people asking me about, is our grid, here in America and, other countries as well, are they stable? Can they be hit? And if they were hit, what would happen? So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, we had the same questions, and so we went digging into it, and we started because we'll spend hours, days, weeks digging on a particular subject sometimes, and a good place to start when you want to look at a concept like how stable or safe is the American power grid is looking at a movie like Die Hard 4, Live Free or Die Hard, which is based on a paper that was written by a security operative on the strength of the grid and what would happen in a scenario where the grid went down. And the movie, being based on a paper, is actually relatively factual once you take out the cowboy John McClane from the story.
Purely symbolic. But the movie gives you a lot of good things to look out for. And so after we watched the movie, we went out and we looked for information on sort of the current state of the US grid. And all you have to do is a quick search in the news, and you get Texas got taken out in a cold snap because they'd switched a lot of their energy to green, and the windmills froze. So you've got attacks on the grid in America happening from within, from the crazy Green New Deal people and leftists who are screaming for green energy. That's one part of the grid being attacked. You've also got America is losing its energy independence. So you've got the administration is weakening the power grid, not having your fossil fuels available to burn, to get trucks to transport coal to power generators. And you've got China, who are state-sponsored hackers deliberately trying to infiltrate the infrastructure and gain control over the electronic systems. So the grid is most definitely vulnerable and in a really precarious state at the moment with the current administration. And he went into topic about us getting the inspiration to look into this from Die Hard 4. The actual article he's talking about is by a man named John Carlin. John Carlin. We have so many thoughts in that.
Yeah, I know.
It's called A Farewell to Arms, and this was written back in 1997. So this was way before we had like cybersecurity issues going on. The first person that really attacked this, first person who actually brought this into the government was Donald Trump. To be honest, he's the one who created CISA, or the Cyber Intelligence Security Group.
Okay.
Now, they were designed specifically to protect all of the critical the critical infrastructure from cyber attacks, because they saw that, hacking technology was getting better and better as it went on.
Right.
And if you guys remember, Joe Biden, our current president, he was actually giving Vladimir Putin 16 entities in which he wasn't, he was trying to say, this is 16 things that we don't want you to hack, and we looked into it.
So yeah, this was only last month.
Yeah, it was last month. This was right around the time of the G7.
The G7 summit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we look into that, and the 16, sectors of critical infrastructure, all 16 of them, these are the things that if someone were to attack these entities, it would completely and utterly shut down America. It would be gone.
Yeah.
So
fast.
And so the movie and the video I put together gives you a 3-minute view of how easy it is to completely shut down the United States finance, economy, food, and everything.
Yeah.
And at that point, the once you shut down the financial system in the US, that's the end of the country on the world stage. That's you're no longer within global supply chain. You know, no longer have currency, and you're on your own, and you have mass panic. The video clip just shows how close we are to a scenario where that could be possible.
Right.
So I think you mentioned earlier, should we prepare for it? I think yes, and I don't think it's that hard to prepare for.
Okay.
So I think based on because all these scenarios were war gamed out with within the Q community and online. Right. So there's a lot of patriots that have been preparing for this stuff for years, and it's not going to be awful. I mean, you'll need enough food and things for about 2 weeks, and you'll need to be able to keep yourself warm and safe. But it's also reassuring to know that people in military positions have also planned for this event. So it's not we're not trying to scare the pants out of everyone.
Right.
But it's highly likely that this is what they're going to try and do. And it's obvious that China wants to become the new America, the new world superpower. And they're frantically trying to pull it off. To do that, they have to sink America's economy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we just need to remember something, that the most important thing to remember here is that we haven't completely lost hope in the future of America and of the world. We believe that there are, there's things happening underneath it all that, people are fighting every day to keep this country intact. But our thing is expect the best and prepare for the worst. That way you have all your bases covered, Right.
And that's basically it. In our household and everybody else, it's smart to have something. I mean, I don't know if you've heard about, Sandy that hit, and I know I've got my own thoughts on HARP, and that it was supposed to be like 2 different maybe hurricanes that were supposed to hit something, but something happened to it kind of meld together and it hit us. And I'm telling you, we were without electric for it went past 3 weeks.
Wow.
So you have to think about what's your weather. You have to stay cool, you have to stay warm. Just think about all those things. Go and buy a couple cases of soup that have protein, beans, rice, water. We don't throw big jugs away. We fill them and we date them and we put them in the garage just for washing, just for, you should have at least a gallon of water per person per day. That's a lot. Yep. And that's that's hygiene and everything, to drink. So you want to separate that. Of course, you have clean water. A lot of people talk about bugging out. A lot of the preppers that I know, and this is just some information. I'm not an expert. I was military, so,
You would know better.
But, my husband thinks I over prepare, and I'm like, well, what's the harm in having it? It's not going to go bad. You get things with a large shelf life. So we have more soup. You're going to eat soup. Big deal.
That's an I told you so scenario coming. Yeah. Nobody's ever over prepared.
Well, that's true. And you just don't go nuts. And if you have a bug out bag, have stuff for your kids. If you need medication, see if you can get an extra bunch and keep it up, and then just rotate stuff. This is all simple things to do. And it's just preparing, because I'll tell you something. From what I've learned, and I'm, not a researcher as big as you guys or anything like that. I'll pick little things and dig, and I get down that rabbit hole, and I'm like, I got to, for a while, that was a dark one, and then go to another one. But the most thing is, it's just common sense. And in this day, it seems sometimes common sense isn't common. It's just don't panic, have some money put up, have some cash put up, have the things that you need in your day, and then your children's day, and anybody else, check on neighbors. And I think we're getting a little bit more back to community. I think the lockdowns really helped people show who they were. They helped us to see what our kids were learning in school. They were seeing a little bit more about how our kids were, because it wasn't just eat dinner, take a bath, and did you do your homework, go to bed, see it. We spent time with our families locked down really good. That caused a lot of things, but I think the good things that came from that is we got to know each other a little bit better, and we got to know ourselves. which is cool.
That's the thing. It backfired on the people that unleashed these lockdowns on the people. This was meant to just discourage us. This was meant for us to stay away from each other. It was going to break down the family unit. It was going to break down trust in the community. All of this stuff, and it backfired horribly because people started talking to each other more. They found more comfort in their community. And to be perfectly honest, the people that learned the truth about what's going on around us with the virus and all this other stuff, they learned that in lockdown because they had time to look for it. So the plans for destroying all of us via lockdowns just really backfired on them because we had more people coming, asking us questions and seeing what the truth was about the world around them during the lockdown than any time before.
But the lockdown was a symptom of a snap reaction that was forced on the elite, who are obviously vying for power. Because Trump got into the office. So the COVID, which depending on who you talk to, could have been used as a weapon or may have been just coincidence that it came out while we had a president who was fighting for the people in power in the US. And it probably wasn't the best way to get them out, but it was one of the few tools that they had available. We know that it has been researched for a long time in labs. They planned for it. So by locking us all down, yes, it seems authoritarian that they did it, but I don't think they had a choice. And then the way they reacted with huge censorship afterwards, and they're still overreacting with huge censorship, shows me that they're still on the back foot. They're still trying to play catch up to the people waking up.
And I'd like to say that Kia is saying common sense became more common, and you know what? I think she's got a good point there, because it gave us time to think a little bit. It gave us more time, like you're saying, to look into things or whatever, but also in our daily lives. And we started to also, I believe, find out we didn't need so much stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Or things, and that was really cool. That was, that's something that I think still existing today with that. So the thing is what we're saying tonight is, we normally talk about ghosts and dogmen and vampires, which we will tonight, by the way.
We will get into
Yeah, we wanted to get a little bit of this out because in our everyday lives, these things could be the most scary because they're coming right to your front door with this. I mean, if the grid goes down, okay, we prepare. Now you don't have to be scared. You took care of that,
Exactly.
And it's good. And then the other thing I'd like to ask you about, if you don't mind, is the slow infiltration of China coming in, working on our infrastructure as far as going down to the crappy steel we've been using, that we send it to them. We were making great steel and, the best. I can remember if it said made in the USA or like Kenmore, it was a big deal because you didn't have to buy a washing machine every year. It lasted forever. Now everything is just crap, disposable, and that's what it is. It's meant to be replaced and more and more and more. But if you think about the steel in our buildings and things like that, just crumbling and being, so many different things happening with that, plus the land grab. So much land is owned. American land owned by China.
You got to remember something, though, Cisco. While China is a huge part of the issue here, you have to look at, not to sound like Kamala or anything, you have to look at the root causes of China. So the main fight here, the main enemy we have isn't really China so much as it is communism. And communism and the ideological subversion of America has been going on for decades. They've been the first step to ideological subversion is indoctrinating the children. So you fill the minds of an entire generation or two of children into thinking a certain way.
And this was done in China through Mao with the Great Leap Forward.
Yeah,
And it's now being done in the US, or it's being done, and it's been in the school systems that we haven't seen, but we're now seeing.
Yeah,
Absolutely true. And wasn't I forget who said it? Give me a 6-year-old and I'll have him for life. Was that Stalin? Something like if I have have a child at 6,
Yeah.
we can train them and warp their mind so we have them forever in
And that's
communism
exactly
and
what
everything.
That's exactly what the Biden administration, which has nothing to do with Biden other than his face, that's exactly what they're pushing for. Now they're going for 2 years earlier schooling and 2 years longer schooling.
yeah.
So they want to indoctrinate your children for an extra 4-year period, so that there's just no chance that there's any patriotism left in them.
And that's the thing. This was a huge part in China. It still is. Like the Maoist regime was the one that really brought that into modern life. But before, and you mentioned it too. I mean, the core of communism goes back to Soviet Russia, and
The long story is communism goes all the way back to Canaanites in biblical history. It's a very old concept.
Well, true. And the thing is, the names get changed from back then. It evolves over time. It's one of the one things that truly evolves is this evil, if you will, that comes out through this. And you know it by its symbology. The very first people, the Canaanites that dubbed the double-headed eagle symbology, this was back in the Hittite era. So this was pure Canaanite, background, and it came all the way into modern times by way of communism.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, see, that's it. The truly scary things, we're always scared of what we don't understand. And that's the point of information. That's the point of facts and actual research, and then rechecking it and then putting all the pieces together, so we know a little bit more about it, and then it's not as scary. But having people take your children and teach them something you don't want to teach them, or telling them that it's okay that they can give them a jab or any kind of, I don't want anybody giving my kid a Tylenol without me knowing about it. Come on. What common sense, that's a medical thing, and it's gotten a little crazy. So I just suggest, look at the books they're giving your kids, read, go to class. I used to stand in the back of the class when my kids were little, because they were trying to, there was this big thing with ADD. Everybody had to be on Ritalin. There are 38 kids in the class. We're going back now. My kids are, like 30-ish now, so go back. That's how long ago. And I actually went into the classroom, and I'm counting, and there's 38 children. And, they're trying to tell me that, well, he asks too many questions. He fidgets. He does. What constitutes a fidget? You know what I mean? What are you talking about? I mean, we used to call it energy. I don't know what, And so anyway, long story short, went through all the stuff, took them through all the things to prove to them that, they're completely wrong. And it turned out he was completely fine, and they still wanted to give him the medication. And then I went in there at noon, and I saw the line at the nurses thing for Ritalin, all these kids.
Wow.
I could not believe it. That's the day I said, go get your book bag. You're going to be homeschooled. And then I went by the 5th graders class, and I said, hey, I'm homeschooling your brother. You want to get your book bag and come home with me? And he was like, hell yeah. And we didn't look back. And we taught them the truth, and we taught them to think. So now we have 2 thinkers and 2 researchers, and put them out into the world, and that's lovely. So if
Awesome.
it's just that kind of thing. You can sometimes do without the second car and the fancy house and all the other stuff. You don't need. That's what they did to us, man. You had to keep up with the Joneses. You had to have the big house and the multiple car. You had to have the career. You had to have that. And you're putting your kids. I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell the truth. I don't hold back. my listeners know I'm going to tell you the truth, because if I start lying, then, I'm going to tell you the truth. When you put material things instead before your children, and I'm not saying that people that have material things don't care about their kids. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, how much time do you spend with your kid during the day? Do you know what they're teaching them? You're looking at their papers? Are you seeing it?
You're bringing up a really good point, Cisco, because one of the things that our show has been focusing on week after week is the critical race theory that keeps getting thrown into schools. And this is a more extreme version of what you were actually talking about. They start by medicating the children to keep them docile, which makes it easier for the information to be fed into their heads. Now, I'm with you, though. Make homeschooling great again, because if you can do it, then you need to do it, because honestly, it doesn't matter what school you're sending your kid to, there's going to be some form of corrupt indoctrination that goes into the lesson plans. It's just something that happens. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, we talk about scary things here on this podcast, and I can't think about anything scarier than somebody taking your child and telling them that you're lying to them, and what they're telling them is the truth. That is my child. That is my blood. And I didn't put my child in daycare at 4 weeks old. I wouldn't put my parents in a nursing home. Like I just said, I always say at the house, it's like we come a long way from the Waltons. I'm Native American by blood, and and if not, I think I'd be it by choice, because we're very nature based and we're very family based, and it takes a tribe, it takes a village kind of thing. And I really think kind of getting back to that a little bit, because do you agree?
Sorry to interrupt you on that, but just on that point, I think that's where we're going. I've looked quite deeply into where civilization will go from this point. You've got the bankers and the elite who want to take full control of your life and have you as a slave, and then we've got patriots who refuse that. What's going to happen when the two clash, I believe, is going to be a fallout. I think the big cities, the New Yorks and things, are going to burn like Babylon. And I think the smaller towns and the communities and the patriot-orientated red states are going to become super community-based, much more grounded societies, much smaller and much kinder, better places, without the clutter that we have of dealing with the globalization. I think globalization is going to fall on its face. I don't think, and this will come into Starlink and things a little bit later on, I don't think we'll have communication like we do at the moment. I think communication is going to change a little bit in the future.
And it needs to, because this is the reason why we have all these threats of cyber attacks and everything to begin with. The entire world has gotten very used to using the internet to talk, and, trying to stay in touch with everything via, a digital pathway. And this is why, you start to see, we talked about Cyber Polygon 2021, you and I. That's not even the only one that they've been doing. Like Cyber Polygon was to prepare the companies for a huge cyber attack. Then they have, things like, Cyber Shield, which is the National Guard getting prepared for the same exact thing. Okay. And then we have things like Black Hat Expo that's actually coming up in a week or so, where they're teaching hackers, defensive, maneuvers and stuff as far as the internet goes. They're teaching hackers things like Ghidra. So they're preparing the blue and the red team for something huge that's coming. Mm-hmm. And they even said so themselves. That the only way a great reset can happen is if you unplug everything all at once.
And they're pushing it. They're making no bones about it. Klaus Schwab's, the World Economic Forum, they want the Great Reset. They're planning for it. And to do it, they need to destroy the existing financial system. So that means all the financial records need to be destroyed. Yeah. All the wealth distribution needs to be reset. And that means that means communication and banking and everything changes. That all has to go.
Yeah.
So what does that do to your average person that's going to work and trying to feed their kids and has a little bit of money in the bank and, basically paycheck to paycheck and, got maybe has a 401k or a pension coming? What does that do to the average person?
I think all that goes. I think the average person has to get to know their neighbor. I think it won't be an option. I think it will be, you have to go back to depending on your community to survive. I think that's where it's going.
Oh yeah.
And I see a lot of people getting involved now. And if things hadn't gone the way they did, I think everybody would have kind of just, all right, everything's taken care of. But then people kind of got out there and started doing it for themselves. And they started going to school boards and meetings and town halls, and they started gathering together and they're talking. There's a reason they didn't want us going to bars, and there's a reason they didn't want us hanging out and talking and communicating. And all of this started, people, if you look back, if you know anything about history at all, America kind of started in a little place called the Green Dragon Bar, where good men got together and tossed ideas and said, what, this taxation and all this other stuff. And that was 1776. It took about 16 years to pull it off, but it was only 3% of the people that did it. And I think that they've forgotten one important thing, and that's the intestinal fortitude of a patriot that loves their country, and whatever country that is. People want to be free, and they want their kids to be safe, and they want a safe house, and they want to be able to buy food. And most people just want to be left, leave me alone, let me pay my bills, and let me just get somewhere. It used to be you could get somewhere and work at a company for 30 years and get a gold watch and a retirement and have a little house, and and it's gotten crazy. And I think they want a whole lot more, but I think we're smarter than that. And I think a lot of people listening tonight and that will listen to this is going to see a little piece of them in here somewhere. So what are some of the other things you think we need to look for, guys?
As in signs of what's coming?
Yes, please.
So we can see that they need to do away with individualism. They need to be able to identify us digitally, because they want us to transact on a person-to-person basis through the banks digitally, but they need to verify that we are who we are. So Apple have gone about that with biometrics. The iPhone has a biometric scanner, and you can then use that to tap to pay. So your entire life now is linked digitally, but also physically via a biometric device of some sort. And Apple have pioneered that. I think they want that for everyone. So somehow they're gonna roll that technology out for everyone. And once that's in place, then I think we'll be looking at the ability to do the reset. And China have already gone down that road using Project Dragonfly, and which is basically a social media platform that all Chinese people use. It rates them, it gives them a social credit score. And that social credit score is linked to their finances, and therefore they biometrically linked that person via their social information and their digital information to their biometrics, because there's no escaping that. They know who you are. They've got all the information, and that is then linked to their bank account. And I think China, being trying to take over the world financially, wants to roll that out everywhere. So I think that's what we're going to see in the near future, is pushes towards that style of monitoring.
It already actually started, to be honest. I mean, I think Uncommon Belief was talking about Tesla.
Yes.
Tesla's group, Neuralink, they're working on brain chips and everything, which just sounds like science fiction. But when you look into what actually is being done with this company, they're putting in graphene oxide brain chips into these people. And actually they started with monkeys. I'm sorry. They started with monkeys. I just recently this week was looking into it, and they got a baboon with one of these chips in his head, and it can play Pong with its mind. Jeez. Which is just wow. And this kind of stuff, they want to sell it to the people, which is something that we're going to be getting into in our own show too. But these brain chips are supposed to make you to connect remotely with a lot of digital things, which is going to be appealing to a lot of people.
Because the RFID chip idea failed. They couldn't get people to take the mark of the beast in their hand, in their right hand, via an RFID chip. So now they want it in your head, in your forehead.
And already, I mean, predictive programming, if you think of any sci-fi movie that you've seen, and this is why you look so deeply into movies, because it's not just fiction, it's plans for something else. But, you know, they show how cool like retinal scans are, or being able to walk in front of a machine and be identified without having to press a button or use a password. These are the things that, you know, Tesla and Neuralink are actually working towards. Now, the first step is to get you to want it. The next step is to scare you into getting it. The last step, which is, you know, the worst step of all, the step they don't ever want to get to that point, is when they have to force it on the public. Most of us, they think, oh, just take it, which is just...
Yeah, I get you. I get you. We've got people in, and I can show you the video. I'll share it with you if you haven't seen it, dressed as a coronavirus germ, the outfit and a shot, and coming around knocking on doors, giving people shots.
Oh, they don't want to come to my door like that,
trick
baby.
or treat. Like trick or treat. Like trick or treat, for Pete's sake. You know what I mean? It's like, we're just here. They call me every day. They send me text messages. Can we help you? No, thank you. Hard no. Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy. I've been in the, one of my sons was in the hospital. We had to stay for 5 days. Boy, that's a story. Boy, I'll tell you what, lady, you can't stay here. Yeah. Who's gonna throw me out? Who's gonna throw me out, man? We had this little guy come bopping in, and I have absolute respect for anybody that wants to go into the healthcare system and help people. I really do. I mean, I think it's wonderful. People help. I mean, they put my son back together. It's, you know what I mean? Western medicine can be wonderful, but I'm an herbalist. And a lot of times I go in and go, tell me what's wrong. I got stuff to fix it. Just tell me what it is. You got better microscopes. That's it. You know what I mean? Work together. And I found a lot of doctors that are willing to, you know, work with you. Got to go through a few to find them, because now they're getting shut down, of course, but you can still do it. And there's been some great comments in the chat. Do you mind if they had a question?
I've seen a few good ones. Yeah.
Have you? One of them that I really wanted to mark on was, they were saying that, give me just a second here. I've been saying, if we all, Laura Stevens, hi Laura, how you doing? Thanks for coming in tonight. I've been saying, if we all go back to the old ways, we'll be fine. People survived back then, we will survive now. Absolutely.
100%.
That is the best comment, because like I said, the Waltons. Now, who was in the Waltons? You know, you had the younger kids, the older kids helped take care of the kids. Everybody helped each other. The grandparents were right there, so you can get all that wisdom. You know, you take care of your elders, you know, and you want to glean that wisdom. They got to that age and they learned stuff along the way, you know, and just, you know, helping out, get to know, even if it's just a couple, you know, of people on the block. When we thought that there was going to be the EBS and, you know, maybe a shutdown for a couple of weeks where things might have gone dark for a little while, we went around and we said, hey, if this happens, we got walkie-talkies. We'll be here on this channel. If you need help, we're here, you know. Any of that stuff. It doesn't hurt to feel out who's around you. We've gotten kind of blinders, you know, maybe a wave or something like that, but we've gotten away. And I think if we get back together, and I think that's kind of sort of a little bit of what happened. What do you guys think? What do you see where you are?
Well, I can tell you this much. As far as Laura's comment, that's how we get our control back.
Yep.
Is if we go back to the point where we don't need all this big tech, we don't need the government's hand, we don't need any of this to go on with our lives. There were people in the olden days that took care of themselves just fine. There's people now actually living far off in the mountains, like far away from humanity, just hermiting it up. And these people are doing fine for themselves.
Yeah.
We have to break the chains that these big companies and everything that runs our life right now, we need to break the chains of that, and that's when we finally become free. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed, even going back to the point of sleeping cards. They wanted to see what you were buying, but you were saving, but you had to have the card to get the price. I mean, every little thing, every little bit. Pretty soon you couldn't get a paycheck in your hand. It had to go direct deposit. Oh, it's easier for you. Yeah. Do you know how much money they make in a millisecond? As soon as your check goes in there, your check could go in for 5 minutes. They have just made so much money on your check, even if you take it all back out. They've already lent it out, borrowed it, and moved it all around. There's a reason they do everything. And that's why you got to ask yourself. I mean, even going back to the day when they were pushing milk like crazy. Drink milk, you need your vitamin D. Well, the sun has vitamin D. I mean, it's like all this other stuff. Why are they pushing milk so much? We stopped drinking milk. If they're paying for advertising and they're pushing it, you better question it. That's all I'm saying.
It's a very old grift. It's the oldest grift. The sales pitch, the salesman selling you something you don't need. I mean, it's as old as the earliest stories in the Bible.
And that's one thing we learned as anons, if you will. This includes everything the media tells you and, commercials and things. If they're pushing it to you all at once, you need to look the other way.
Right. What's going on over there?
Exactly. If they're trying to sell you a particular story in the news, for example, you need to look and see what is happening that's not going on with that. You know what I'm saying? Like there were a lot of instances like that recently where, like the UFO disclosure thing.
There we go. Yep.
Everybody was hot in the biscuit, if you will, because they're like, oh, the FBI is finally going to disclose the UFOs. Yay. Dude, we know everything there is to know. All of us that have studied this from day one have seen all the proof you could possibly need. Why do you need the government to tell you it's true? The government lies. know?
And I'll tell you something, they're not going to tell you everything. Tell us a little bit about that. Are you guys ready to talk about that, or did you want to go somewhere else, Kiwi? You guys take it. You're in charge. Okay, great. Go for it. Tell us about it. Bring up a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll start it off because I know Kiwi has an all-around endpoint to the whole thing.
Cool.
But so we have tons of information dealing with, just aliens, alien technology. I mean, the Blue Planet Research Project was something that I was really into years ago, and it goes into detail about all these different types of beings and everything, like all this technology that these scientists have been gathering up. It goes into detail about President Eisenhower signing a peace treaty with aliens, which at the time, it's just, wow,
what?
Yeah, exactly. It's a really good story. And I mean, we can go as far back into the 1900s, the early 1900s, when Aleister Crowley came out and was talking about this entity, or he called it this alien known as LAM, L-A-M. And when you see a picture of LAM, it looks like a little gray alien, which starts up this entire, whirlwind of information dealing with these little green men and everything. People automatically call that aliens. Everything you see in the Blue Planet Research Project is the same thing. They talk about, different types of aliens and all this other stuff. But it goes back to just a fascinating source, which I'll let you get into that, because it's really good. It makes so much sense now.
So I've got a theory that's like instantly going to buck a lot of people. It's not going to gel very well to start with, but if you'll hear me out, and I'm happy to jump into Discord or groups and discuss this with people, because we've dug extensively on it. But how many people have seen and heard stuff about the Anunnaki and what's that alien show? Alien Mysteries?
Ancient aliens.
Ancient Aliens. I think most people have seen an Ancient Aliens show. Or I've been able to trace almost everything mentioned in those shows back to biblical roots. Now, when I say biblical roots, most people think of the Bible as the story of Adam and Eve, or just the things if you haven't really studied the Bible, just the basic knowledge that people have of the Christian version of creation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask to take you back and just ask yourself, are you a creationist? Do you believe in a higher power that created this entire construct around us? Or do you believe in evolution and you think it all just magically came together and formed intelligent life on its own? If you're a creationist, I can help you. If you're an evolutionist, I can't really help you with your logic, because I fundamentally disagree with evolution. I don't think evolution's
well, it's all
logical.
It's a matter of belief.
It's a matter of belief.
All these atheists and people that they go straight to, it was all evolution in the Big Bang. Where's your proof? There's no proof of that either. This is belief versus belief. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just one thing.
Yeah. So the first thing I was doing was just separating out the two belief structures, because atheism and Darwinism and evolution is a totally separate argument. That's that I don't really want to go into at the moment. But coming back to if you believe in creation and you believe there's a higher power and a being or something that intelligently created life, you and the universe, then we're on common ground. I can then sort of talk to you about what you perceive to be an alien and what I perceive to be an angel or a spirit or a cherub or a creature mentioned in the Bible. Because once you start digging deep into the ancient Hebrew meanings behind words in the Bible, you find that there weren't just angels and God and man. There were a whole manner of creatures. There's the Leviathan, which is a creature that lives in the sea. There's cherubs, which are neither angel nor human.
Don't forget the behemoth.
The behemoth. So in the Bible, there is a whole spectrum of explanations for things that a lot of people might consider aliens, but have never looked at the biblical correct definition of what these things are. And it's incredible. I mean, just for an example, in the Bible, there is a section that describes God's chariot as being four spinning fiery wheels with creatures that have 4 faces on their head and 2 sets of wings, and each face is different. There's a face of a man, one's the face of a lion, one's the face of an eagle.
Wow.
And it's really, really cool stuff. And it's not the obvious stuff in the Bible that you hear about. It's not things you generally dig on, but once you start digging deeper, you'll see it. So every time I've looked into because I was a believer. I wanted to believe in aliens. I watched X-Files. I love that stuff. And every time I dug deep down each avenue of research for an alien, it led me back to a section in the Bible. And I can explain to people how I got to that a little bit later. But a lot of people go, well, hang on, aliens aren't in the Bible. Aliens are something different. And I'd like to have a conversation with someone, or if someone has a question in chat about how they instantly want to disagree with me about that, that'd be really cool, because Scientology is based on Satanism. And and it goes back to Masonry and Aleister Crowley, who you mentioned was the first person to come up with the first image that was like the proto image of what we now know as grey aliens. So there was a lot of psyop and disinformation that came out of Satanism, out of Masonry, and became mainstream alien terminology.
And that's one really interesting thing to mention. So we have Jack Parsons of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This is like the father of NASA, if you will.
Yeah, so Jet Propulsion Laboratories was NASA. They were building rockets, and he was divining information from other interdimensional beings.
Yes.
Is how the media would describe it. But when you read into the life and the people who knew him, it wasn't interdimensional beings as such. It was satanic sex magic practices.
Yep.
He was following
Satanist.
He was following old school satanic practices. They just weren't telling us that part of the story when they were explaining his life to us. Now, JPL went on to become NASA, and you've got the fork tongue, the red fork tongue in the NASA symbol.
Yep.
That is representing the serpent's tongue in Satan.
And before you can go into that, so we have Jack Parsons, who was a good friend of L. Ron Hubbard, who was the father of Scientology, also a practicing Satanist, who also was familiar with Aleister Crowley, who, I mean, he called himself the Beast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't get much darker than that. And like Crowley has talked about Lamb and his meeting with this interdimensional being as being the pathway into what he believed was this new age reality that the world is in. So, but the thing is, it inspired him to get into Thelema. He created the religion or philosophy of Thelema, which the core belief behind Thelema is do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And it also teaches you something that Anton LaVey will teach you later in the Satanic Bible, that you are your own God. So there's no God up here. You know, you're the one that manifests the power. You're the one that manifests your own destiny, which is, I mean, everyone has the power to drive their destiny certain places, but ultimately it's in the hands of the Creator, you know. But it's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that Scientology and Thelema and Satan, it's actually more Luciferianism because it makes you the God instead of the actual God.
Right.
Do as thou wilt.
So
and it's all sugar. It's not sugar coated. There's another word for it, but it's all threaded in. You know what I mean? It's all threaded in, and it's all connected in so many ways. Because understand people what they're trying to do, whoever they really are, and this is a huge group, but there's more of us. That you are basically a worker bee. And they don't really care much about you. And if you think they do, just put this in and I'll shut up again, that's what they want you, basically a drone. They want you to be so big you can't catch up. If you don't believe that, look at how paychecks have changed. Look at how far a paycheck could go. It was in my lifetime that one person could work and somebody could stay home, help with kids or do something else, and it was enough. Now it's not enough. Why? What changed? And it was a slow warming of the water, and then the frog feels everything is fine. You see what I mean? And then before you know it, you're at dinner, baby.
That's exactly how they plan on, like Khrushchev. That was how they planned on ushering communism into America. So they weren't going to have to lift a gun. They weren't going to have to kill anybody. They were going to seep this into the consciousness. And he even said, America will wake up one day and be communist. It'll be too late. It's one of those things that you have to, when you start to look into the tenets of communism, and then, you look at Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals, you can see the super left in America and all over the world actually following these tenets to a T. I mean, even in New Zealand, you guys don't even know, there's an Antifa everywhere in the country. There's an Antifa of New Zealand. These people are everywhere. You can't hide from them.
It's absolutely true. But, something I always say on this show is, you have to understand that the power is here. One pinpoint of light can wipe out the darkness of a whole room. I mean, and I tell people, think about it. I don't want, don't be scared. Think about it. Have you ever been in your bedroom when your cell phone went off just with a notification, that tiny little green light or a tiny little pinpoint, and the whole room lit up? That's you, baby. And you combine that light and we can wipe this darkness out. The first step is the knowledge and the understanding, and then trying to understand your vantage point, how it affects you, and look back over the stuff we're telling you. All of this is true. If you have kids, like I said, go to the schools, see what they're teaching. You have to get involved. You can't be the drone with your head down anymore. It's time to lift your head up and open your eyes.
Yeah. So just going back to where I started that last little rant. So the Anunnaki, the story of the Anunnaki describes pre-flood civilization. It describes the mating of, or the creation of a race of slaves. Now this is in the Bible. This is a long story, but
you take all the time you need, babe.
It's represent. So the Bible speaks of the watchers that were the angels placed over earth to watch early creation, the civilization developed early. They were here, and then there was Adam was created in the Garden of Eden, which I don't believe was on earth. I believe the Garden of Eden was an intermediary realm. It wasn't as physical as we are here. It wasn't physical earth and ground. It was more of a spiritual. And I'd say that because when Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden and they were naked, it wasn't an issue until they were aware that they were naked and they had sinned. And I believe that's because God created skins for them. Now, the Bible says they were skins of animals. And I believe at this point, Adam and Eve were given human bodies, skins, and that's why they saw that they were naked. Before that point, I believe they were spiritual beings in the Garden of Eden, even though it talks about Adam being crafted from clay and Eve being a basic clone of Adam from his hip bone.
Yeah. It's a long, deep dive that we had to go into to surmise all of this. It's going not only from the Bible, but actually some of the what's considered the Apocrypha, like the Book of Enoch. Jackie was just talking about that with the fallen angels and the Watchers and everything like that. It's all pieces that put together a fascinating story of
Genesis.
Yeah, the actual origins of man.
So one of the things that happened after Adam and Eve fell and were placed on earth is the earth became corrupt at some point with creatures that were not of God's creation, and they were described as Nephilim. Now, these Nephilim were basically the offspring of a human and an angel, or a fallen angel, or a watcher, which is basically in biblical terms an alien. So right at the get-go of creation, before the flood, we had aliens messing around with human DNA, creating hybrids, chimeras. Now these became known as Nephilim. The Nephilim were known in the Bible as men of old, men of renown, great men. Nimrod was a Nephilim. He was part human, part angel, or part alien. This is where I was trying to explain that the alien information is deeply rooted in the Bible. So the Anunnaki story is basically another language's version of Genesis and the creation of the slave race, the creation of the hybrid race, which is known as the Nephilim, who were aliens. And if you go even deeper into this, there is possibly a little bit of research on the planet Rahab, which is in our solar system, is just an asteroid belt. But it refers to Lucifer as the son of the morning star. Now, the morning star in those times was believed to be the planet Rahab. In the morning, it would come up just before the sun, and you could see a star that was Planet Rahab, and that was Lucifer's home. Lucifer and the Watchers who left their first estate, which I believe was possibly the planet Rahab. And this ties in with aliens coming to, or the Anunnaki coming and breeding with humans and creating hybrids, chimeras, and slaves.
Wow. Let me ask a quick question, because this is something I've been trying to get a little info on. What do you think about Rh negative blood? Any thoughts on it?
I can't get anything conclusive, but I believe that it's very clear in the Bible that there was blood. The life is in the blood, and
Okay.
the bloodline has been mixed since Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden and chose to mix DNA with the serpent. That created an extra DNA or an extra bloodline. So yeah, I believe there is something to that line of research, but it's obfuscated. I haven't been able to get any clarity on it.
Some of the theories I heard about the Rh negative bloodline is actually it stems directly from Adam and Eve, and a lot of people think that, oh well, everybody's been, everyone goes back to Adam and Eve, but it's not true. Some of the Rh negative people, that these are the ones that stem directly from that bloodline, and it's been corrupted over time, but at the same time, it shows a vast difference between, say, I know didn't you say that you were Rh negative as well?
Yep.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? And now a lot of people are like, oh, well, this is like an alien bloodline. I think Stephen Stockton was talking about that.
And he's also Rh negative.
You see, and that's what I'm saying. Now, keep in mind, like, while we don't pay so much attention to aliens per se, you could technically call Adam and Eve aliens because they didn't come from planet Earth.
They weren't native to Earth. If you look hard at Genesis 1 and 2, you'll actually see that Adam and Eve were sent forth to replenish the Earth. And if you ask the question, who did they breed with? Who did the sons of Adam and Eve breed with? Who did Cain breed with? Cain went off and found himself a wife. So there was already human life. This is very controversial in the biblical circles, but there's good evidence to show that there was already a race of beings on the planet before Adam and Eve. But it's a deep subject. I won't go into that without actually having a source.
This is a good one. I'm trying to catch comments. I'm sorry, guys. Some of these comments are going by so fast. I know we're all trying to catch them because there's so much knowledge in chat. And this one was a good one. Whoop, wait a minute. I told you I was new. Hold on, let me find it. It moved on me. Oh my gosh. It moved. Hold on. Let me get it off. Oh my goodness. Give me a second. This is good. Thank you. Hello, Grandpa C. I see so many lovely people in here. Thank you guys for joining. Here we go, right here. This one. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for coming in. I've heard that, but okay, here we go. Let's see my tongue. It's not split in the middle, and my eyes, my pupils aren't going. Just saying. Thank goodness it's not. I don't feel reptilian. This is what I thought, because we hear a lot about the rhesus monkey gene because of the evolution, and we covered a little bit of that. And you keep hearing, well, you don't have the rhesus monkey gene. And I don't know if I follow that one a lot. You know what I mean? There's something going on, because I can tell you from experience that women with Rh negative blood, when you're pregnant, your body will fight that birth, that baby as actually like it's almost like an infection, and basically try to kill it off. And I lost 4 children before when I was in the Army, and finally they realized, hey, she's Rh negative. They have to give you some kind of a shot to keep your own body from killing your own child.
It's an immunosuppressant or something.
Right. And then I was able to have children, thank goodness. But and the fact that it took them so long ought to tell you something. But we won't go there. But that's a little crazy. I don't know what's going on with the RH negative, but I can tell you that a lot of the RH negative people either have abilities or a little bit more intuitive, empathic. I find a lot of people that have abilities have that, and I don't know what's going on there. It's still up in the air. We're still talking about it, trying to figure it out. You know,
it almost seems like you just almost kind of wrote it deeper in stone about maybe the RH negative bloodline coming from the
Watchers, the aliens, the fallen angels.
Well, yeah, I mean, even
sorry.
the Adam bloodline. I mean, the original Adam bloodline. Like at some point, because they weren't able to have children in their original form. It was when they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden.
After they were clothed in animal skin.
Yeah, so it was afterwards that they actually started to take on the human characteristics. And keep in mind, I mean, these people were amazing creations of God. So these special abilities and everything you're talking about, it makes sense. And the fact that it would be hard to procreate as a RH negative bloodline just kind of sets it deeper in the stone for me, that maybe the theory that this goes to, the Adamic bloodlines actually makes sense.
Yeah,
It also,
and we're digging. We're trying to find out. There's a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, and it's also it's only a theory, but there's the alien abduction thing where if just to sum up the scenario, basically it seems like the Luciferians that run our governments have signed a compact that allows for human beings to be removed and experimented on, and all sorts of horrible things have been people have recorded as having happened to them, and it seems like our government's complicit in that, whether it's via a treaty or turning the other way in exchange for knowledge. That aside, that goes back to my theory of you can't just have a species blend. You can't have an alien or a fallen angel or a watcher or an Anunnaki. You can't just have them breed with a human. You have to have the exact right conditions. And this goes in parallel with the COVID research. So COVID-19 didn't just happen. It happened because a lab simulated billions of iterations of variants, of mutations, until they found the COVID-19 variant. I believe a similar thing is happening with genetics, because the Bible clearly states that in the end times it will be like it was at the days of Noah. And at the days of Noah, you had Nephilim, you had hybrids, you had chimeras, you had fallen angels, aliens breeding with humans. The daughters of men were the
daughters of men and the sons of God.
The sons of God breeding. And I believe that's what alien abduction may be about. It may be about looking for a way to create genetic hybridization between those species again, between the species of the humans and the species of whatever alien or angel or whatever you want to call it, to bring back superhumans, to bring back men of old, giants, and Nephilim. Men with birds on their head, bird heads for heads and things like that.
Wow.
I believe they were real. I think they were actual creatures back in the day. And I believe that's what they're trying to create again. And you see that with science articles coming out now where they're mixing all sorts of weird things.
That was actually one thing I wanted to bring up too. We had learned from Jim Shaw. He's running for commissioner of agriculture in Florida. He's a good patriot, but he pulled up an article where the Senate actually was brought up to get a vote to ban the creation of chimeras. So this is human and animal hybrids, and different types of animal hybrids. They were called in the Senate to ban this. Okay. And it was two Republicans that didn't vote, Tom Tillis and Marsha Blackburn. Those two Republicans didn't vote, and it kept the bill from actually going through. So they tried to ban hybridization of people and animals and two different types of animals, and they failed. So it's completely legal to do this type of research in America at this point. It's completely legal. And just what Kiwi's talking about with this hybridization of humans and animals, this is the reason why they're so fascinated with the Egyptian culture. You know, in Hollywood and the upper echelons of society, you always see them revering things like Osiris and Ta, like all these creatures that just any normal person would be like they couldn't possibly exist. That's what their main goal was. They want to get back to that point where, you know,
it was the height of technology of the time. I believe that was a prior civilization. I can go into why I believe that later, but I believe there was a reset that we don't have recorded that happened after that period in Egypt, where they had all those Osiris and all those hybrids. I think the planet was wiped after that. I think for whatever reason the planet was wiped, and we started from scratch. But I think that's where we're heading again, is towards a civilization that is crossbreeding species, and whether they're interdimensional, whether they're spirits occupying an animal form or a human form and having sex, like the ritual sex magic that the Satanists practice, like Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons. There's too many to name.
Amazing.
That's where we're heading, and I believe this scenario has happened before, and ancient Egypt represents the pinnacle of a prior civilization.
Yep, and keep in mind too, when we were talking about Tesla and Neuralink, this is their doorway into getting to the superhuman technology. Once they have that implant in you, they can do anything they want to your DNA. And one of the things that I've been studying recently that I'm still trying to find a good connection on, the graphene oxide that's in these Neuralink chips, there's actually a trace amount of graphene oxide in some vaccines, as far as, you know, COVID and what you know, whatnot. But the thing about that is that you can link digitally to, you know, to this element, which I have to get more into it.
You can give it an electrical charge and remove an electrical charge from it.
Yeah, so you can actually control somebody. This is why you would see that image of that baboon that was playing Pong in his head. You know, this could either be him figuring that out, or it could be someone programming him to do that. You know, it can go as far as either way. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Which is it's.
I know. It sounds like crazy, and you know, you and I and a lot of the people in the chat have really been looking into a lot of this stuff. But I want to say something to back you up too. Something I've known from being in the military and hanging with a lot of military and just, you know, my whole life. And talking with wonderful people like you and Steve, we've said it. If you see it in a movie or a show, and if you don't think that three-letter agencies are involved in what's released by Hollywood, you got to think again. They got to okay it. You know, they can't put out technology that they have now, but if you're seeing it now, they had it 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you tell me why shows are coming out now like Sweet Tooth. Have you seen this?
No, we honestly, we don't watch a drop of mainstream media.
But at the same time, that this is not the first person that's brought this to us. There's a lot of patriots. Yeah, a lot of people are talking to us about this. One of our friends, Patriot.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah,
that's part person, you know, part human, part animal, and they're trying to make it so you're you're getting used to it and comfortable with it. No, isn't that cute? Little Sweet Tooth, you know, it's like, let me tell you something. You want to hear something scary, chat, and people listening to this. This is going on. It's going on right now. And if you look down, chances are you're standing over a dumb or something else where this is going on. I promise you.
Wow.
You know, there are a lot of stuff. I don't know whether it's missing people, and they're, we know what's being done around the world to, Uyghurs and Uyghurs and things like this. And when you start to get into this, you're going to see some very ugly stuff, but we cannot stop it till we realize it exists. And then we can start to talk about it and how to stop it, because that's, it's not cool.
There's a process. I think the first stage is learning of its existence. The second stage is determining how much of what you've just learned is true. Then asking questions and discussing it and reaching logical conclusions, and then finding a way to either confirm or to act on it. I think that's a fairly good process. When we as diggers and researchers and curious truth people in this chat and in your audience, that's how we need to approach these questions. And I think discussions that the topics I've raised today are probably, I've seen them on the odd video, but I haven't seen that much discussion of how much biblical scripture, when you read it deeply enough, lines up exactly with a lot of the alien stories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
and it goes way back.
Mm.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
too many smart people that are digging and getting the research and the facts and everything else and seeing things with their own eyes and understanding and coming out and talking about this. We mentioned it the other night, the Robert Guffey, the book on that goes way back. I mean, at least 10, 15 years of these people being targeted and used and tested and, with all this other stuff. This is going on. And you had mentioned the Eisenhower possible treaty for technology, the trade, basically turn a blind eye so we can be abducted and tested and tagged and released like dolphins or any marine biologist grabbing a hold of a whale and studying it for their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Sound familiar?
Oh yeah. And also, I mean, if you look at it from a different perspective, they just sacrificed a huge number of people for forbidden truth, for forbidden technology, which is pretty much what happened. I mean, a lot of these people that become abducted, you never hear from them again. Some of them, they just disappear.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And some of them come back and they're completely and forever changed.
Yes.
And all for the sake of technology and like, again, forbidden knowledge that humans were never supposed to know. And it's amazing to think just how far human beings and technology has gone since the Eisenhower administration. We jumped literally. And this is the first time in history that like a race of civilians or a group of civilians just made a huge jump in technology like this. I think it's been going on for a while. And it's all based on how many people you're willing to sacrifice to learn this information. Yeah. It's extremely nefarious when you think about it, even though a lot of people say that there are some extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings that are actually good or kind-hearted.
Palladians, maybe.
It's like yeah.
Well, I have a theory on that as well, and it's relatively solid, I think. Now, the Bible clearly mentions that hybrids were created, and it refers to them as unclean spirits that don't get a free pass into heaven, and they don't necessarily go to hell. They're spirits that weren't designed to be, weren't designed by God. They were designed by fallen angels mating with the daughters of men. Now, just because those spirits might have been born out of God's purview, it doesn't by default make them evil. So there is an opportunity there for these when these creatures died, when the Nephilim or the Anunnaki died, because they weren't a creation of God. They didn't obviously go straight to heaven. Their spirits or their energy floats around the area they died, which is our planet. But I don't want to discount the fact that some people have had good encounters with otherly dimensional beings or spirits. For instance, Ramtha. If anyone's heard of Ramtha, they'll know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But I'm weird.
We're weird too.
Yeah.
There we go.
So at the end of days, it's said that God will judge everything, all the spirits,
Everything.
good and bad, everything that's in hell. So that's not for me to judge whether those spirits are good or bad, and I don't want to comment as to whether or not all aliens are good or all aliens are bad. That's not what I wanted to portray. I just wanted to portray that there is an explanation that has been in a book that's thousands of years old that does explain a lot of what we see in alien encounters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely true. And I think that we all know young Pharaoh, and he said something. I wanted to credit him. That, and I don't watch him all the time. I don't, but he did say something that I thought was really poignant. And they said that you can come back from being bad.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's very hard for somebody to come back from being evil. Once you've crossed that point, when you put your own greed and power and fame and money and things like that in front of another's life and their choice and how they want to live it, that's evil. Whether you're hurting a child or dropping a building on people just to cover up something and cause a distraction, or something else. And if you think, you've got to get out of the mindset that the people that would do that wouldn't do it because you wouldn't. You have to understand. You have to understand that a psychopath, a narcissist, the people that are raised in power, they're less than us. I'm telling you again, we're worker bees, to them. They step on us like nothing. You've got to get out of the mindset that your government would never sacrifice a couple of thousand people to cause a distraction or cause a war, because it's happened every effing time.
Oh, and many governments.
Every single time. They have made money on both sides of the war and in between. You've got to look into things. And I highly recommend, if you don't haven't heard of him, his name is Jim Mars. He has passed. He passed, I think we're going on 2 years now. Wonderful man that really fought. And he fought about the aliens. He fought about the Roswell. He had another special on another alien crash. He did a book called Our Occulted History, which basically means hidden. And he's always, he's been on the JFK thing. He taught the whole JFK conspiracy analyzation, because there was a conspiracy. And, we've got to get past that conspiracy theorist. It's not conspiracy theorist, honey. What does conspiracy mean? Conspiracy means that more than one person, so two people, got together to cause a plan to do something, to do this. That's all a conspiracy is. They conspired together. And the CIA... Go ahead.
A plan in secret.
Yes.
So it's a deceptive
thing. Absolutely. Yeah. And, that's all that is. So I want to start a new hashtag, if it's cool with you. And I look at who I'm talking to. This will be viral in no time. But spread it everywhere. Hashtag coincidence theorist.
Ooh, I like it. We're bringing that together, you guys. We have to do it.
Because too many people are comfortable with saying, oh, it's just coincidence. They'd never do that. Really? Look up Project Northwoods. Okay? And that was signed off by every general in that room, and it went to Kennedy, and Kennedy said, we don't do that. Well, I got news for you. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So get out of that mindset and understand that, like, we look into the space, and we learn here on this show, we all learn together, we all talk about experiences and stuff, and I personally think that a lot of this stuff is connected. Everybody says, well, out of space, and one type of alien. There's many different kinds. I think there's multiple dimensions. Tesla himself, I think he got up to 11 or 12, and then
11 or 12. I think he said he believed 12th was God's dimension. and he
Okay.
got to like 11, I believe. That
Mhm.
was I think that was a reporter questioning him that
Mhm.
that information came out. But yeah, I think that was the story there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I totally forgot that Kiwi is kind of a student of Tesla. So if there's any questions in here, I know Uncommon Belief has got some, and we asked some earlier, but he wanted to know too, what do you think about Elon Musk right now? Black hat, white hat, gray hat, back and forth, mind controlled, maybe wants to, I gotta,
Yeah.
if I'm going on intuition personally, I got to tell you, I'm feeling it. There's a vibe there
So,
I'm not good with.
so
I don't know what it is.
just if you ignore everything he says and look at what he does,
Mhm.
his his wife
Is
is
it practicing Satanist?
practicing Satanist. He's sending rockets into space like Jack Parsons and NASA. He came out of nowhere. He was a media maid mogul, and
Mhm.
he's never done anything good.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, see, that's the thing. He's cool, and he's got a cool car, and he dresses nice. He's got this cool way about him and all that. And I'm sorry, but anybody they put up front, I question. Anybody that they put up front, because
yes.
I learned with milk. Why are they pushing that so hard? I'm not drinking it anymore. And then I studied milk. Now I don't drink it. But that's just
That's
simple.
the thing about Tesla. I mean, not Tesla. Elon Musk.
Okay.
Yeah, this fella has been put into the limelight. All the young people love him. Okay, and there's some people in the Q community that were like, "Oh, I think Elon Musk is. I think he's on our side." No, this man is a master of symbolism
and deception. I mean, look
Yes.
at Space Mouse.
Yes. Oh my God.
Who hasn't seen the terrible CGI footage of a rocket launch where there's a mouse crawling around the top of the rocket?
Yeah, I've seen
and
And so he's a deceiver.
he thinks that humans are essentially cyborgs too.
Mhm.
That's the thing that comes to mind when I think of Tesla, is that he's trying to usher in the transhumanist agenda in people. He thinks that we're all going to be robots at some point.
And how cool it will
be. He's trying to sell it really, really hard to people.
Yeah.
These are the same people that are like, okay, when Neuralink comes out with these brain chips, I'm totally getting one because I want to be able to look at the internet with my eyes and like nothing else,
Yeah. So while Tesla has given us incredible battery power and some innovations and is putting what we possibly consider to be Starlink up into space, no, everything about him screams Satanist with Luciferian agendas.
And
everything.
Kia, just so you know, Cisco, Kia is actually a co-anchor of ours on At Weekend News. He's a
Hi,
lovely
Kia.
fellow.
Hi,
And,
Kia. This is a nice statement here. Look at that.
Yeah, that is exactly what the point of that is. There's no coincidence there that he called his company Tesla, because they're trying to hide. If you look up Tesla on Google, you're not going to see a lot of Nikola Tesla. You're going to see a lot of Elon Musk.
It's hiding it. Hiding it. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And they took everything from the man, and he died, basically a pauper. And then they ransacked everything, except for some papers that somebody we know, their family may have them, and I still believe that that's true. Isn't it? Is it Trump's uncle that was friends?
Yeah,
with
Trump's
Tesla,
uncle John.
There you go.
Yeah, John.
And I find that very interesting. So, I mean, as far as that goes, everybody, we've learned something, and something I learned that helped me. When you get too close to something, you tend to get tunnel vision and you don't see. Back up again, get the eagle eye view, the 40,000-foot view of what's all going on at the same time, because there's so many layers. And this has been planned for a very, very long time. But now we can kind of see it, so you can look at things differently, As far as aliens, I've heard that there's a couple of different grays. There's a worker bee gray that kind of comes in and does all the stuff. We've heard everything like from the praying mantis kind, and the reptilians and Palladians and good ones. And I've got people that tell me, I got people that are telling me, oh, they're coming to help us. They're coming up. Let me tell you something. No ascended being is going to spend time on a planet that still wars.
Yes,
Kill
exactly.
people. We have a lot of evolution to go. We have a lot of learning to do. We have a lot of kindness, and get back into that vibration, that frequency of, that kind of kindness that we were supposed to have, that, we're not warring and we're not killing, and we don't drive past a vet in a wheelchair with a homeless sign in our Mercedes. I mean, how can you do that when there's hungry children and there's children suffering and things like this? Also, beware of the charities you give to. I just heard that Make-A-Wish, and I could be wrong on this if somebody knows. Did you hear this?
Yes, actually, yeah. The CEO, I think, of Make-A-Wish he's a millionaire. He actually bought like a brand new house. It just a lot of things like that. These people are stealing money.
Well, that's not the only thing. I've heard 3 days ago that they said the only ones that they're going to. These are terminally ill children. These are children that fight every day to live. And they said that they're not going to grant wishes to children who did not have the vaccine.
Are you kidding me?
That is awful.
3 days ago.
I'm trying not to curse on you too. Like, what? Like, are you kidding me? This is disgusting.
It made me I almost threw up, because I'm going to a thing. It's Gettysburg Bash here in a little bit. Hi to Steve Berry and KSPS investigators. They all put it on 3 days, and all the money goes to wounded vets in Pennsylvania. This is in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and children with terminally ill illnesses. And they bring in like Batman with a car, and they do all this stuff, and they try to do as much that the kids want to do it. Everything goes to them. It's all about them and the vets that day for 4 days, and it's wonderful. If anybody wants information on that, just go to Pamela Berry on, I guess, Facebook, and or contact me, because I'm going. But do put your money where it's going to go. Because if you're at a cash register and they're telling you, do you want to donate $1 to this? I guarantee you the March of Dimes came up with the name March of Dimes because it was only 1 dime of every dollar that went to that charity, to the actual charity. Everything else went. That's how they got March of Dimes. And the whole thing is, that was 40 years ago? So how much of that dollar do you think actually gets to a child now that has one of these diseases that are coming up out of for no reason? To me, this is the really scary stuff.
It's next to nothing, because we haven't solved anything.
Exactly.
I mean, nothing's been solved. We've been giving to charities. These large church organizations have been, given, asking for tithings and things like that to solve these problems, and we haven't solved them. So there's obviously been a massive grift and scam right from the start.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, if you want to give, if you want to do something, find a family in your neighborhood that could use something, and maybe buy some groceries, put it on the porch, knock on the door, leave. And you did something. You did something physical that you saw what it did, or give someone a ride, or offer to go get groceries for somebody, or whatever. Everybody has a talent. Everybody has a way to help. And I think if you have a charitable soul and you want to do something like that, do something physical you can actually see a difference in. And if like you said, nothing's been cured, well, they don't want it cured. They stop making money on that. We all know that. You're talking to an herbalist. You're talking to an herbalist who was told that I had 3 months to live, and I think that was 12 years ago.
That's exactly where we're going through with that too. I mean, you can't tell me that the money that they're demanding from people is going to anything good at all. This is all optics.
Yes, absolutely.
It's disgusting. The thing you do as an herbalist, actually, I mean, there have been reports of actually curing cancer with that, though you'll never hear about that in the mainstream media. That's what I'm saying. And same thing with AIDS. You know, that there are things that are in nature that could possibly bring you back from the brink of death, if you will, just like you were saying. You know, it's a matter of looking into it and, you know,
Absolutely.
not having to trust the doctors all the time.
Take control of yourself. You got to take control of your heart and your mind and your physical body, your spiritual self, you know, and for Pete's sakes, your soul, you know. And the people that we're dealing with sold the most precious thing they had, their soul. They gave it away to get power and fame and everything else. So a lot of these people that we're making famous, we got to stop making stupid people famous. That's for sure. But
those are the best ones.
Look in their eyes. Look in their eyes.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. There's nothing there. You know, and that's just you know, the point, you know. And I think this is some of the scariest stuff. And I really want to do this. We've got, you know, if you're cool, another half hour, and I want to have you guys on at least, you know, every couple of weeks. Okay, come on, and we can continue the conversation and just keep, you know, answering the questions. I'll get better at catching those, I promise. You know, because there's been some really good ones. You know, I think we caught some. You know, the RH negative thing just freaks me out because it's my blood. I can't get away from it. You know.
Yeah.
So if it's in me, I'm going to make it the most positive thing that I possibly can. So if I've been given gifts to help or put a little light out there, and that's what we're trying to do tonight. You know, knowledge is power. You know, anything that we mentioned tonight that you're interested in, you know, Kiwi and Seward's there. There's a lot of wonderful people in this chat, you know, Jackie and Grandpa C, and I don't know how to pronounce the but there's been some wonderful, wonderful comments here. Uncommon Belief. People want to learn. They want to know what's going on. And, you know, I can imagine, like, you know, 10 years ago, we didn't care. As long as it wasn't bugging us, as long as it wasn't our kids or our money or our job, we didn't care. And that's how they want us. We got to start caring again.
I agree. I
totally agree. And just a little bit of self-help advice for anyone who I'm going to say this from a Christian's perspective, because Christians can often be hard on themselves when it comes to sinning because it's been weaponized against Christians in so many forms. But there's two types of people on this planet, regardless of your blood type. There's the type of person who sins and knows in their heart they've sinned and regrets it. And there's the type of person who sins, they know they've sinned, and they regret that they can't sin more.
Yeah,
that's what divides us.
Dude, I gotta make that into an
t-shirt,
official quote.
Bumper sticker.
Yeah, really though.
Yeah,
Kiwi comes up with the best quotes, and I'm just like, okay, I gotta lock this in the brain. I gotta make a meme out of it, something.
Yeah. I was in the meme wars.
Oh, I read it. You made the best meme, Cisco. I remember that. It's lovely.
I lasted about 11 minutes on Twitter.
That's a badge of honor, dude.
Red hair. The funniest thing I ever heard is it was a little girl in a t-shirt, and she's just precious, and it says on the t-shirt, "God gave me red hair because he thought I needed a warning label."
Yes. No, I
there you go.
That.
There you go. But that's just it. Get active. You know, everybody's got their thing. If you want to learn more about herbal stuff, there's a good way to prep too, because boy, if you're prepping for something and somebody needs first aid and everything's shut down, there's stuff out there. You know, I promise you. You know what I mean? Did you do?
One more thing about
you say anything you want.
Just on the biblical stuff, because
sure.
It's all new to me. I only just started studying the Bible 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
So not many people know it, but Noah's wife on the ark, her name was Naamah, and her job was the task of gathering one of each type of plant and seed and taking it on the ark with them.
Cool.
So not only did the flood wipe out the human and angel, Nephilim, alien corruption, it also wiped out all the plant species that were GMOs, that were only monocropped, all the stuff that was proprietary and seeded. that was all gone, and it went back to the seeds that God created originally on this planet. And like you were saying with the herbalists, I think that's an incredibly important skill to know.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I ask my kids. We didn't have insurance. I come home, and I'm coming down the driveway. They're skateboarding off the roof, and I used to yell, "You know, we don't have medical insurance. You break your leg, I'm setting it. I'm going to boil water," and it stops because they knew I meant it. They knew I meant it. I will set that leg quick.
That's a good learning technique too. It's like you don't think
is.
you're gonna get any anesthesia out of this
No.
one, do you?
No. Yeah, I wouldn't give Jack to my kid, but so it's just like to choke your brother out. I got to give him stitches. I'm joking. I don't do child abuse. They're very big now. They're bigger than me. Don't worry about my kids. They're fine. They survived me. They're good for the world. Isn't that funny?
It's not child abuse when they do it to each other.
No, it's stitches. You got to learn stuff like that. So anyway, I'm joking. And I'm comfortably too. No, she's not. She's not kidding. I got scars. When you're a single mom raising boys, and this is me saying this, I'm not sitting here driving a Mercedes. I got a 2006 paid for. That's all I care about. I don't care what it is. I can write. It holds my American flags and my eagle and my bumper stickers. I'm good to go. Yes, we made it big. But that's just it. We used to be able to get away with so little, and now we have to have so much. I mean, holy, there's 6 remote controls sitting in front of a TV out there. I can't use any of them. I don't even know. It's like, what do we need? I grew up with 3 channels. You watched it, you didn't. It's just crazy. So I mean, it's just too much stuff. It's too much stuff.
I completely agree with you. And Laura's talking about that, and that's part of this day and age right now is where people idolize celebrities.
They're done. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, these celebrities, these are incredibly wicked people. Mm-hmm. And you guys mentioned that before, that like young Pharaoh said, that you can come back from a life of evil, of wrong. It's true. All of these people can be saved at some point.
Oh, you look at the apostles. I mean, Paul.
Paul was the biggest example right there. Yeah, he was supposedly a killer.
He was a horrible person before he became an apostle and a believer in Jesus and the things Jesus did.
Yeah.
So absolutely, but it was his heart that changed. It was what was in his heart, which is, in my opinion, the gateway between your body and your soul.
Yeah, you're like your divine spark almost. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think it's amazing. Exactly. And there's even I don't know if you guys are aware, and I bet you Uncommon Belief can answer this one. Are you listening? Because I write on everything, to tell them to, just to believe. When you think you don't have faith, or you're questioning yourself, or you think, and it's like 0.38 ounces, and it's supposedly when the human body, when they die, that's how much it goes down. So I'm like, is that how much a soul weighs?
Yeah, so I've got a little bit more info on that.
Please do.
So I've done a little bit of research into monatomic gold, and the weight of monatomic gold varies. It has the ability to transmute and be in quantum. Talking along the lines of quantum physics, some of its particles aren't blinked into existence all the time. Monatomic gold is possibly the only substance that could allow you to communicate with another dimension that I'm aware of, as far as the physical element goes. And we obviously have gold in our body. There's a percentage of gold in our body, and then there's a chance that monatomic gold in our body is what's used to house our spirit. Mm-hmm. Because if anyone gets a chance, do a little bit of research on monatomic gold. I believe there's different types of day, the day where the weight of the gold will change because certain electrons or protons, neutrons, phase out of this reality, out of this physical world, out of sync with it, and its weight changes. But it's a very interesting dig if someone wants to go down it.
So cool. And I love the fact that Uncommon Belief came up with 21 grams. That's what I would write on everything. And I just think that's so cool because, I talk, about the woo woo and all that stuff. And I totally believe it. There's so much more to us and this world and what's around us than people realize. And once you start seeing the miracle of it and the beauty in it, so many people are scared. And again, that's why I started the podcast, because you watch a paranormal TV show and it's all like every time the board creaks, it's a demon. It's this and it's bleeding skulls. I got a whole stack of them right here. This is Charlie, and that's Mackie, and this is Bill, and this is this. Yeah, it's all men. And then it's
that's something
my crow sitting on top. But that's the thing. It's just it can be scary. You better believe it. If I'm standing in my kitchen making a sandwich and a ghost pops up behind me and goes, "Hey," I'm going to jump. You bet I am. But don't limit yourself to your thoughts and what you learn. Yeah.
I'm with you on that one, Cisco. I mean, that's what I was saying at the beginning of the show. Mm-hmm. I come from a deep occult study. I was a Satanist for 20 years before I found Jesus and Q and all this other stuff. I studied demonology. I studied, paranormal, things like all of this is very familiar to me. It never scared me before. And the deeper you get into it, the more you understand it, the less scary it becomes. You're completely right on that. And bringing that knowledge into the good fight now, I'm trying, I think we both are, we're trying to open a lot of patriots' minds up to the possibilities of what's out there. And we come from two totally different lines of research. He was studying more of the scientific aspect of the world.
Tesla
and I was studying more of the occult, the hidden, the magic and lore of the world, and we put our thoughts together. And the theories that we've come up with is just, we can write a book. We just never have the time.
I did.
I know.
Just wrote another one too. It's going to come out probably in October. But see, the thing is that's it. We get so caught up in the scared part, we forget the miracles. We forget that love, I believe that love and that divine connection with somebody lasts forever. It's like what the dead are dying to tell us. Every time I've connected to somebody, that's the message, even from a young man, one of the most, and I don't mean to get off the subject, but I feel like I need to share this. A young man who was involved in a horrible murder. He was killed, and his mother, the only way she could go on and keep going past that, once they found him and all of that stuff was taken care of, was she was going after, she had to solve it, she had to do the thing. 5 years into it, this young man comes back through a medium friend of mine. I was there and trying to help this woman, and he comes through and he's talking, and he pretty much confirms that it's him. You still got my stuff like this. You still have my Converse high top sneakers, the one with the green shoelaces in the closet. You won't throw them out. Bam. Nobody knew that. Nobody. Yes, stuff like that. And once we got to it, he said, well, he has a message, and because she's upset, of course, it's very emotional, and he says, stop. I want you to stop looking to solve this. It doesn't matter. I'm fine. Your life is being ruined by this. I want you to go on and live. You're not fulfilling your destiny. You must go on and live and let it go. Let it go. Because she says, you don't want revenge. I have to get revenge for you. And he says this, and this is important. He says, that's being taken care of. You need to take care of you. I love you. I'm fine. That's a beautiful message. This is what the dead are dying to tell us. Every time they come back, and every time I've heard messages or been part of stuff, they want to tell you, live your life, be the best you can be, and don't miss the little things. These people wanted us to miss all that. You understand? They wanted us working and head down and pay the bills and, all this other stuff, and to keep going. So we miss this. They're trying to take that away. Don't you let them. Don't you let them do it. The world can be a beautiful place, and miracles happen every day. And knowledge is power.
Well said. I love it. I love it. That's something I think we could both agree to, that, it's very important not to get lost in all these things that we're looking for and we're looking at, and just, focus on what we can control and what we can do to make things better in the world.
Yeah, that's a really good discussion for another time, I think, as well, is what is this reality? What is this time that we are spending here in these bodies? I think that's a really interesting topic, and I've got some good thoughts I want to share with people.
Sounds wonderful. Let's do a whole show on that. Like, what are we here for? Is this school? Are we supposed to learn so our etherical self, our higher self, can learn more, to ascend to a higher vibration? They want you at a very low vibration. Everything they put out is a bad frequency. We were talking the other night, and you said, I misspoke and said hertz when I meant frequency, because the fear frequency that they put, like when the news comes on or whatever, in music, they hide it in music. They had concerts. Oh my gosh, we go on forever. Get away from the fear frequency. You are in control of yourself and your own being. And anywhere you can do this. You can do it on a bus, you could do it in your office, you could do whatever, and you just get yourself back to that. There's plenty of meditation music and music on that hertz or whatever. And if you can't find it, sing a happy song, dance barefoot in your kitchen, go outside and get into nature and dig in the dirt and plant a plant or feed an animal or whatever. Because when you connect back to earth, you connect back to yourself.
A lot of people don't take that seriously enough. And I think Shady Groove was the first person who really brought that to light, at least for me, is that this world, everything that we are, it revolves around energy and frequencies. We don't realize that resonance has a lot to do with, how emotions, evolve and everything like that. And the lower the frequencies that you're exposed to, it changes you. And if you surround yourself with nothing but that, you become a low frequency in and of yourself. It's very important to keep that level high, and a lot of times people who walk around that are depressed and, that deal with things like that, it's because they've been exposed to that much negative frequency, that much low frequency. I
so true.
agree.
And I can feel it. I can feel it when I walk through, like, say, a diner or something like that. I can walk past tables and I can feel it, what's going on there. I think everybody can. We were all born with the intuition. Like when you see a rabbit, and that rabbit's eating and everything is doing its thing, all of a sudden it stiffs up. It gets a warning. It feels something. It doesn't talk itself out of it. You see? It goes with its intuition. It's, it knows that prey is near and it's in danger. We've talked ourselves out of our intuition. We've tried to be like, oh, I don't want to cause a problem. Oh, I don't want to do, like, look, if you shut your intuition off, you are shutting off one of the best gifts that you were given. Common sense and everything else.
I think the theory of evolution and Darwinism is designed to remove us from our intuition, from our connection to the planet and our connection to the Creator. That's what was planned and schemed up and put into practice through the religion of Darwinism and some of the sciences, basically.
Even things that a lot of anons won't even touch, like that everyone just accepted the belief that this world, this universe is heliocentric, when for hundreds of years, people were set on the belief that this was a geocentric solar system where Earth was the center of it all, and everything revolves around Earth. And to be perfectly honest, some of our research that we've gone into, and a lot of people think, oh, well, that's just crazy. Believe it or not, every aspect of science that they try to shove down people's throats like that is all theory. It's not written in stone.
Yeah, all our science at the moment is based on the theory of relativity.
Yeah,
and it's a general theory, and it's not even a completed theory. It's a flawed theory.
And a lot of these things like evolution and this heliocentric, universe, all of this stuff, this takes us away from our importance and our importance with our connection with the creator, which is it was something that we need to get back to. We're led to believe that we're just this little speck in the middle of nowhere, that we don't matter,
But just randomly formed.
Yeah, really. That we're just some strange mutation, of some part of evolution. It's BS. It's BS. We're more special than we know.
Yeah.
And we've been led to believe otherwise, but I truly believe that we all of us in the chat, you, Cisco, Kiwi, all of us, we were all put here for a divine purpose. And it's all different, but at the same time, when we learn our purpose in the world, you can feel that everything is right, and that doesn't happen for a speck of dust on,
That's so true. It's so true. And I'll tell you something, the soul goes on. And there is a phrase I learned in Alabama, comeuppance.
Yes.
And whether you judge yourself, I have a friend, his name is Dan and Brinkley. And he's a wonderful man, does a lot to help vets. He is a self-proclaimed asshole.
We know a few of those.
That's what he says. But he said, I wasn't born that way. He was a vet, and he went through Vietnam, several tours. And, he got into his own head and just trying to survive and come back and try again. That's that typical story. Go back because I can't live here anymore. I'm different, Basically what happened was he got hit by lightning 3 times.
Ouch.
3 times. And he had 3 times he went through what you think it's the tunnel and all this, whatever. But he basically said the first time wasn't enough. He came back, he was still an asshole. It happened again. These are his own words. He got hit again with lightning. He went through it, and this time he had to go and see. He saw all, like they say your life flashes. He had to watch. He says, I'll tell you something. The thing I learned was when you go into the grocery store and you're having a bad day and you're crappy to the cashier, okay, it's not her fault, whatever, and you yell at her, okay, and then he leaves. He doesn't see any of that, but he got to see what he caused. And what she did, and the pebble drop and the ripples. This is what you did that day. So think about everything, because you're going to have to go through it. Now, the third time he got hit, because the second time he was still an asshole, he was better, thought about it. The third time, he goes through and he sees it all again. And the time they showed him, they said, this one, watch this. He was, doing a little cocaine. He was doing a little partying. He was in a fast car on his way to a party. He hit a dog. And he had that moment where you make good choice, bad choice, and he kept going. Well, he got to see what happened, and he got to feel the suffering and the pain and the horror that this poor dog went through as he died. He felt it. So the third time he came back, that was the one that got him. Not the war, not all the things he had done. That dog. That changed him.
That's profound.
Now he hugs everybody. And he says, I'm a hugger. I don't make excuses for it. And they said, well, why do you hug everybody? Because I'm not hugging you, honey. I'm hugging me. I'm going to need them when I get over there, because after everything I'm going to have to see again, I'm going to need to get some of these. Because you can feel it. Beautiful.
I love that. That's what a good
Think
story.
about what you're doing. Yeah. Think about what you're doing. Every little thing So if you think that these people that are trying to do this to us, that they care because they're I'm not going to say they're soulless. They sold it. They gave it away. Don't you dare. You hang on to that, because there's another side. There's an afterlife. I've seen it all my life, and the message is love, and we're here to learn and just be the best you can be and ascend in the highest vibration you possibly can. So if you're thinking about doing stuff, what can I do? You know what really pisses them off? Laughter. You know,
Oh, yeah.
people that have hope and faith and love and family and partying. That's why they didn't want you doing it, because it kills them to see us like that.
Exactly. That's why. That's the one thing we learned from troll hunting for so long is that the more you put out those positive vibes, these people with this Trump derangement syndrome, these uber leftists that just want to watch the world burn, it drives them crazy when they see us on Getter right now. You can see all these trolls and leftists lining up to join Getter. They should be thrilled that they have Twitter all to themselves now.
Yeah.
They have Twitter by themselves. None of the patriots want to stay. But no, they want to come and try to make our lives miserable, and we just laugh it off. And, you know, like, we have our own home now. You can't bother us anymore.
Right.
You know, it drives them bananas.
And also be very careful in, you know, you want to protect yourself too before you go into, and I just had this conversation with somebody else. We'll have another show about this, but energy. When you hit a text, it's almost like you're given permission. It's all electronic. Everything's electronic. And for that energy to come in, you know, it's like answering a phone. Just don't answer it. You know, if you don't want to have that energy come into your space, your energy, and combine, just don't answer it. Let it go. And ignoring people like that is like the worst thing, because they don't even know if you saw it. They want to hold, you know, and they're all like, oh, this is really going to get them. Well, did they see it? It really bugs the heck out of them.
That's brilliant advice. That's like that is the best advice you could give to someone who was scared about commenting in a public forum.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
You put your comment down, and the people that are supposed to see it are going to see it. But if you don't want to engage, you know, if you do want to engage, that's fine, because you're covered, you know, and you're protected. You got your stuff, you're high energy, you're good to go. Go ahead and get in there, you know, because that's like saying, don't go to a house to get out a negative entity, you know, because you don't want to, you know, no, you walk in there, you walk in with protection, you know, you're not walking in alone, and you've got your stuff, and you walk in there and you go, listen, I'm really sorry, you know, that you're going through this. You try to talk through it, and you have to block that energy with something. And the only thing that blocks negativity is positivity. Plain and simple.
Boom. You got it.
It's that easy. And it works with people too. Why do you think they didn't want to covered up our smiles for so long?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we learned that much too. I mean, the wearing of the mask is a pagan tradition. You know,
it also makes it easier for human trafficking, to sneak kids around and things like that.
Yeah.
It's all
you must have seen
combined.
You've seen the same videos that we have then. I mean, I've seen people like you can abduct children right off. You will never know. You'll never know, because all the kids look the exact same.
And that's all part of it. People, get your kids off of Facebook. It's a shopping mart.
It is.
A shopping mart.
There's a court case that's just going out. Not Trump's court case. There's another court case that's just made advancements on that. Is it Twitter or is it Facebook? Facebook is like 80% of people human trafficked come through Facebook. Some horrendous amount.
It's shopping.
And people have I can't remember where it was, but they've just won the right to sue Facebook over the damage that's causing.
Here we go.
Oh yeah, it's happening. It is happening.
So many ways. But you know, as far as all that goes, we're definitely going to do a show. Everybody in the chats asked me. I'm getting text message on my phone. I keep looking. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but it goes off, and I've got to know. You got to have them back on. You got to have them back on. So we will.
We've got it. There's lots to talk about, and we've run out of time.
Yes.
We absolutely have. And I love you all so much. We promised them a vampire story, but they're going to have to come back and get that because they're about to cut us off of here. I've only got a little bit of data, but I'm going to get more because we're going to do more of these shows. And I can't thank you guys enough for coming on and opening our eyes to so many different things. And everybody dig, tell us where to find you again. And all the links will be in the chat, but tell us again.
The dlive.tv/@weeksendnews, or you go to Odyssey or Rumble @weeksendnews always.
Okay,
And
and
thank
that
you so
show
much.
is Friday. Is that 1 second? Is that show Friday night? Am I
Friday
right or
night.
no?
Friday night at 5 p.m. East.
Okay, great. And KiwiPatriot YouTube channel, get in there and look at all those videos. They're wonderfully done. I'd also like to announce here today that if you want to hear a little bit more of this and get a little strength, if you got a Patriot heart or you just, you love where you live and you just want to keep doing it your way in freedom and raise your kids the way you want to raise them, you can get a little inspiration from kind of a friend of mine. I've eaten dinner with him a couple of times. I mean, I know him, he's a great guy. He's a musician. His name is Billy Falcon. He just put out a wonderful video called Never Surrender. I highly recommend you watch that, then watch it again, get all the little flashes about how all these patriots, we've been playing whack-a-mole, and every time they hit us on the head, we just pop up in about 50 different places. There we go again. So we're not going to surrender this. I'm not surrendering my divine spark, my children, my home, and my love of country. And I know you guys aren't either. And I can't thank you enough for coming here and talking about all this. We're going to do it again. Okay? Thank you all, chat, for coming in. We so appreciate you, honey. Is there any parting words you'd like to say?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for giving us an opportunity to talk.
Yeah, and we love you too. Much love to everyone in the audience. Thank you so much for joining us.
Big hugs. Big hugs.
All the time.
Love you guys.
God. All right, sweetie. Thank you so much for taking so much time out to come with us. And thank you to everybody in the chat and all of your... Oh, Billy Falcon link. Yes, I will put his link in the description as well. It's a wonderful song. You're going to love it. It's fire.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Be well. And
too.
keep your feet under the covers and your closet door shut, because there are things that go bump in the night. Bye, everybody. Good night.